Hello and welcome to Managos Racing, and as you might be able to tell, today we're going to be talking about Automobilista and the latest update, which is the version 1.5.3.2. So what I thought I'd do is I'll have a read through the rather long changelog and then take a look at the new tracks that are part of the build, and then potentially have a look at some of the new cars that are part of the DLC that's part of it as well. But depends how long it takes me to read through this lot and have a wander around the tracks. I might do the cars as a separate one because this could take a while, and I do have to make some tea later at some point. So, without further bullshit, here is the changelog. This is version 1.5.0.5. I don't think I actually covered the updates 04 and 03, maybe, to version 1.5.3.2. Content: Tracks, Historical Track Pack Part 2 DLC. Added Barcelona 1991, added Interlagos 1991, added Interlagos 1993, added Montreal 1991, added Barcelona National Layout, which is part of the Circuit de Catalunya DLC. I'm sure that got added previously, but I might be mixing up what has happened in beta with what's happened in the releases. But Cars, a Formula Hitech DLC. Added Formula Hitech Gen 1 class featuring the MP4-7 and 3 generic models. Added Formula Hitech Gen 2 featuring McLaren MP4-/8. I just want to go dash instead of slash. Never confuse dashing with slashing. Can get very messy, wet feet. Plus 3 generic models. General. Got an itchy nose. Added multiplayer logging to help debugging common multiplayer reliability issues. Dedicated thread for reports incoming soon. Added launch control support. Added scheduled full course yellow option to race settings screen. Personal opinion. Why? Added dedicated safety truck model to Cobra Truck. Corvette Z06 pace car to Formula USA 2023, AMG GT for Formula Racer, Formula Ultimate Gen 1 and Gen 2, pace kart to kart classes, Porsche RSR to Formula Retro Gen 1 to 3, BMW 2002 to GT Classics, Formula Vintages and TC Vintages, BMW M3 to Formula Classic, Formula Hitech and Formula V12. Added safety car blinking lights which go off when the safety car is about to return to the pits. Full course yellow, safety car no longer leaves the pits in a conflicting situation when leaders are speeding by on oval tracks. Fixed issue where the detection of illegal overtakes during full course yellow would keep track of the wrong driver, displaying in the follow label, and wouldn't remove the illegal overtake message once the correct driver could be ignored. Severely, I'll try and read, damaged vehicles are no longer prevented from pitting in the pit. Entry is closed on long oval races. Pit oval label will now be displayed for several severely damaged vehicles. I keep saying several instead of severely. My brain's not working. Damaged vehicles no longer penalised for not staying with leaders. Improved detection of struggling vehicles that can be overtaken under full course yellow to prevent unfair penalties. Corrected legacy issue with motion blur being always forced enabled in replays. Now it will respect user settings. Hooray! Fixed legacy issue causing to run low motion blur even if user had it set to high. Fixed legacy bug in driver head animation from external view where the angular G-force passed with orientation inverted, leading to a tendency to bend helmet left. Increase the default distance between each AI vehicle during full course yellow. Fixed driver helmet animation not being in sync with the vehicle G-forces during replays. Disabled gear shift animations when a car is set with automatic shifts in either or both directions. Fixed bug where a vehicle, AI or player with auto pit on, could get stuck in garage in single player in practice or qualifying if another vehicle was within a blocking distance near it. Fixed issue that would cause missing tyres not to reset after pitting or session restart. Enabled spotter on all ovals in authentic mode. Fixed mandatory stop min tyres incorrectly being limited to maximum setting of 3. Fixed vehicles with exactly 2 final drive settings, always running the shorter ratio. Tightened up track limit detection thresholds. Fixed issue on oval tracks where a vehicle in the pit lane would appear in first place or last place on live leaderboards even if it wasn't physically in such positions. Fixed issue where the safety car wouldn't move in time from waiting position if the leader was leaving the pits. Fixed issue where a player could be unable to drive in multiplayer if he joined a practice or qualifying session in progress that had safety car setting enabled and only one free user slot available. Also could cause a session to be unable to advance to race if this user didn't quit. Fixed issue on oval tracks where a vehicle in the pit lane would appear in first place or last place on live leaderboards even if it wasn't physically in such positions. Didn't I just read that? Fixed issue where the safety car wouldn't move in time from waiting position if the leader was leaving the pits. I think I might have just accidentally scrolled back up here. Private sessions, fixed player vehicle being rendered as ghost, fixed opponent vehicle ambient shadows sometimes visible. Fixed late joiners being stuck in a visible state in private qualifying if a local player was on track when they joined. Enabled spotter on all ovals in authentic mode. Fixed issue with where authentic aids setting could become out of sync for a client in multiplayer. Increased maximum pit speed limit allowed to 240 km per hour. Redefined setup folder to force reset setups. Just go back. Did I actually read the same thing twice? Yeah, I think it is actually in there twice. It wasn't me being mad. I thought, have I managed to flick back somehow? No, apparently not. UI and HUD. Message you can push now is displayed to all pregnant women during... Oh, no, sorry. Is now displayed for the leader instead of the caution message when the safety car is already out of road limits when the race is about to resume from full course yellow. Entering a cockpit configuration screen when I switch view to cockpit. Various corrections to track grade filter. Fixed incorrect limiter state in HUD widget after returning to garage with limiter enabled. Fixed auto advanced countdown being incorrectly displayed on non-host clients when the server does not have it enabled. Onboard camera group on replay mode now cycle on command rather than automatically. Physics. Continued version 1.5 physics overall for all classes. Revised FFB for all cars. Revised ideal brake range for all cars. Revised aero drop-off with yaw for all high downforce cars. Revised turbo altitude scaling BOP for GT3, GT4, GTE. Added launch control system for Formula V10 Gen 2. Corvette C8 Z06 or Z06 for those not in the United States. McLaren Senna and Rallycross. Updated logic for tyres pre-race heating in case of skipped formation lap to minimise discrepancies in handling over first few corners. Adjusted idle RPM range for all F1 engines. Minor fine-tuning adjustments for Group A and GT1 engines. AI fast paths redone for several track layouts. See full list here. That's here. Disabled all track-specific AI grip and multiplayers. persisting performance variations from track to track, now adjusted exclusively via AI paths. AI calibration paths for all classes in dry and wet. Fixed a bug in AI driver's assessment where overtaking a car ahead causing them to pull aside too early and lose the draft. Adjusted AI brake application for all classes to better match that of human driver. AI behaviour adjustments increased function to reduce chances of AI deciding if it should go off track only as a last resort. Brain reading. Adjusted AI speed difference and distance thresholds for taking defensive action. Reduced avoid ratios to minimise jerkiness in line switches. Increased threshold for AI carefulness with human players. Increased wall check awareness. Adjusted front and side buffer ranges. Further brake usage fine-tuning to various classes. Adjusted AI launch performance for classes with newly added launch control system. Adjusted behaviour under blue flag to prevent AI from moving erratically on outlap. Fixed an issue where AI could sometimes be aware of other vehicles in private sessions. Revised and tightened AI driver skill ranges for Formula Classics Gen 1 to 4, Formula V12, Formula V10 Gen 1 and 2, Formula Rita, Formula Ultimate Gen 1 and 2, Formula USA Gen 4, GTE, GT3, Stock Car Brazil 2019 to 2023. Adjusted interclass AI performance of Lotus 98T, McLaren's MP44, 5B and 6, Sigma P1 and P2 class. Slightly increased AI tyre wetness threshold for slightly earlier switch to wet tyres and slightly later from wets to dry. Slightly reduced AI performance boost for qualifying hot laps. Increased AI care with human players. Added function to independently configure how much AI slows down in cooldown lap for each class. Added AI fuel load density scaler to adjust AI performance when running higher fuel loads. Adjusted standard pit strategy thresholds for when AI decides it is worth making a pit stop for tyres. Lower for F1 cars, higher for 4/6 nut wheel cars. Defined number of AI dry hot laps in qualifying for F1 style cars, min 1, max 2 hot laps, and non-F1 style cars, min 2, max 3 hot laps. Adjusted AI overtaking aggression parameters for all oval variants. Added AI cheat function to prevent it from overshooting pit box in higher speed pit speed limit settings. Slightly increased AI lifting off throttle under blue flags. Revised AI tyre wear rates and resulting degradation. Combination should lead to AI suffering less performance degradation with tyre wear and coming in earlier for tyre pit stops. Further adjustments to AI performance with wet track, with wets on dry track and slicks on wet track. Increased AI global wall check and awareness. Slightly decreased front buffer range and increased side ranges. Barcelona fixed AIW alignment at start-finish junction in chicane layout. Audio. Added offline dirt sounds. Updated external engine sounds for Ford DFV engines, Ford Vintage G1M1, G2M2, Lotus 49C, Brabham BT26, Brabham BT44, Brabham BT49, Formula Retro Gen 1, Formula Retro Gen 2, Gen 3, McLaren M23, Lotus 72E and Lotus 79. Updated V8, V10 and V12 external sounds for all Formula Classics. Updated Formula V12 internal and external sounds. Adjusted tyres, scrub and skid volume for Formula USA Gen 1 and Formula USA Gen 2. Formula Junior adjusted player and opponent engine sound parameters. Fixed issue with some sound effects continue to play when switching view target. Closed cockpit cars adjusted chassis or rattle sound effects. BMW M4 GT4 revised engine limiter and traction control sound. Chevrolet Corvette C3 and C3R adjusted chase camera engine sound volume. Tracks. Adjusted live track grip range for Buenos Aires, Montreal, all versions, and Hockenheim 2020. Corrected an error that prevented actual track starting lights from working at Kansai, Santa Cruz and Taruma. Adjusted road noise for Hockenheim historic layouts, Monza 1971, Spa 1993, Montreal all versions. Interlagos 2020 added 3D foliage, redone track and terrain materials and textures, updated materials and shading for temp grandstands for Grand Prix layout. Spa-Francorchamps fixed a terrain shadow issue visible during specific date and time of day in 1993, 2020 and 2022 layouts. Spa-Francorchamps 2020 corrected inappropriate next lap penalty when off track near Blanchimont, added a dedicated safety car parking spot. Hockenheim GP increased track edge to cover curbs that were previously excluded. Ascura Dirt switch P1 to the left side of the grid. Daytona removed excess runoff at the entry of the bus stop chicane. Adjusted track limits, fixed static object LOD pop issues. Relocated pit exit line at Daytona RC and NRC layouts as seen in the 24-hour race. Jerez 2019 fixed a physical track surface bug in the T1 brake zone. Replaced broken tooth on the entry curb. Fixed bug with the garage floor lighting. Spielberg historic stroke vintage corrected a missing LOD flag on the pit lane entrance tyre bundle. Nürburgring all versions corrected geolocation and time zone data. Fixed black grass bays near Dunlop on the Nord's 24-hour layout. Fixed a minor collision issue on the RX layout. Fixed the track length data for Sprint S layout. Barcelona fixed the collision of the pit lane entrance tyre barrier, adjusted live track grip range. Kyalami increased grid box spacing to fix AI drivers sometimes reversing during a race starts. Montreal historic 1988 updated TV trackside cameras. Spa 1993 minor performance and export optimization. Silverstone in 1991 fixed trackside camera flickering at Hangar Straight. Alton Park adjusted position of chicane apex tyre bundle. Speedland Kart 3 fixed misplaced layout tyre barriers. Completed VR cameras for all RX tracks. Tiki fixed RX layout pit lane, cars won't start in garage. Minor graphics fixes corrected max AI participants from 5 to 7 in RX layouts. Indianapolis 2022, both layouts updated formation lap path. Vehicles. Deep breath. Defined colour matching driver outfits and helmets for all drivers in Formula Junior, Formula Vintages, Formula Retros, Formula Classic, Formula V12, Formula V10, Formula Reserve, Formula Oculus, all gens, Group C, Group A, GT1, GTE, GT3, GT4, GT4 Super Cup, G40 Cup, GT5, GT Open, Mini JCW, Porsche Cup, Copa Montana, Sprint Race, Formula USA Gen 1 to 3, P1, P2, P3, P4, Aussie Racing Camaro, Vintage Touring Cars T1 and 2, GT Classic Touring Cars, Stock Car Brazil 1979 to 1999, Formula USA 2023, Formula Inter, Rally RX1, Kart Cross, Formula Dirt. Adjusted bodywork dirt build-up rate for all cars. User livery overrides fixed a body part issue when using metallic materials. Adjusted visual backfire thresholds for all cars to more realistic frequency. Fixed spark effects being too dark during the day. Increased driver helmet LODs to avoid it popping in and out at longer distances. Adjusted cockpit POV for Group A, McLaren F1 GTR, McLaren 570S GT4, Ultima GTR, Metal Moro AJR Gen 2, Formula V, Mitsubishi Lancer Cup, both models. Stock Car Pro Series 2023 Cruise fixed brake disc glow issue, fixed LODs tail light issue, adjusted height offset, fixed driver legs position for cruise model. Stock Car Pro Series 2023 Corolla, changed steering wheel position, adjusted driver position and animation, adjusted cockpit view, fixed UV map on front inner tyre walls, adjusted the steering wheel position to be centered in relation to the driver point of view, adjusted driver animations, Stock car, all seasons. Updated and enhanced steering wheel display. Adjusted cockpit materials. Porsche Cup. Fixed damage models on Lot A. Adjusted onboard cameras for Corvette C8 Z06 Formula Dirt. Melmoro AJR Gen 2 fixed windscreen rain issue. Lotus 23 fixed low-res artifacts on dirt damage texture. Rocco 001 added driver animations, adjusted gear shift mesh, added dirt damage texture, revised collisions, detached front fenders, added damage models. Mercedes CLK LM GT1 reverted driver animations to use stick shifter, revised collisions, adjusted driver animations to use pedal shift. Ginetta G58 fixed driver animation position on third person view. Caterham 620R fixed right side tyre pivots. Cobra truck, apparently nothing. Brabham BT44 adjusted suspension animation and camber on the front wheels. Formula Classic all gens. Correct wet tyre texture for various models. Fixed shiny tyres on lower lods. Increased speed threshold required to produce under-tray sparks. Fixed rear boot that was obstructing the view in cockpit. Steering wheel's rotation angle and missing cockpit windscreen for Formula Classic G4M2. Updated and revised 3D display for McLaren MP4 stroke 5B and MP4 stroke 6 / even. Fixed suspension mesh skin on Lot A and cockpit view, and fixed suspension animations for Formula Classic Gen 3M3. Formula V12 added damage models, revised cockpit suspension animations structure. Formula V10 Gen 1 added damage models, revised cockpit suspension animations structure. McLaren MP4-12 added damage models, revised cockpit suspension animation structure. Formula V10 Gen 2 adjusted suspension animation on front wheels. Formula Ultimate, both gens, added damage models, revised cockpit suspension animation structure, improved transparent halo, fixed front suspension mesh in cockpit view, and adjusted the right side cockpit mirror mesh for Gen 1. Formula Vintage G2M1 fixed wrong name in collision joint. Formula Dirt fixed red body panels when viewing from cockpit view. Revised livery Formula Juna 55, McLaren F1 GTR 03, McLaren Senna 04, Mercedes CLK LM 53, new paint materials. Camaro SS corrected cockpit model to 6-speed manual transmission and adjusted driver animations. Corvette C8 Z06 added launch control info on page 1 and 2. TC of cockpit display off pictogram on 3 pages. Improved textures. McLaren Senna added launch control info to cockpit display. Onboard camera adjustments for kart cross. Cobra truck fits the spawn location, causing the truck to bounce when entering or leaving the setup menu. Fixed wipers not clearing water from windscreen in Vulcan model. Formula Trainer, both, added damage models, added dirt damage textures, fixed rear tyre skin, revised collisions. Porsche 911 GT1, fixed missing paint material. Metal Moro AJR Gen 1, fixed red body panels when using livery override paint materials. Opala Stock Cars 1986, fixed flickering windshield banner. BMW M8 GTE revised livery, numbers 9 and 15, new paint materials. McLaren F1 GTR fixed exhaust position. Formula V, both models, updated the rim blur model and textures. Porsche Cup corrected rear tyre diameter for the 4.0 litre model. BMW M3 E30 Group A added adjustable rear wing details to 3D model. And my God, that's it! I've finished! Only 24 minutes. Wow. Blimey. Come here, chair. I need to go sit over there. Right. I think coffee's probably gone cold by now. Give it a stir. Right. Tracks. I think we'll have a look around the tracks that are part 2 of the historic pack, and just double check to make sure I haven't just told you a load of bollocks. That was the historic part 2, wasn't it? My God, that's a oh no, too far. Barcelona 1991, Interlagos 1991, Interlagos 1993, and Montreal 1991. What I'll do is I'll drive around those four, and then that'll probably be way too long a bloody video anyway. So let's go to test day, and what the hell, current super light. Whatever. Scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. Barcelona. Right, the current modern layout is this one, and I think hopefully the one just underneath it happens to be 1991. So you should be able to tell reasonably easy where most of the differences are. The obvious differences are, I think this is Campos, is not quite as long a corner, so you should be able to go around there a little bit quicker. And then you've got this little chicane, which is used in some of the layouts, the modern one. Also, this is a bit further over here. They've moved this back now to increase the distance across here to improve safety. But I think the fact that back here there wasn't that silly chicane there, so this was actually quite a decent runoff area. Putting that chicane in is what caused them to have a problem with the runoff area in the first place, which is why they had to put the silly bit across there. So yeah, shoot yourself in the foot. Other than that, I can't think there's too many other layout differences. I don't think any of this has changed. I think the final two corners, the first chicane and all this around here, was all more or less the same. The difference is in effectively how much road you can use more than anything. But we'll find out. Sometime later, but hopefully not too much later. Right, drive. Right, I had already set up to be sitting on the bonnet and turned off the HUD. Don't need it. Garages are different now. I don't think I got the extra bit on the top. Either that or they've been built out more at the bottom. One of the two. They certainly are different. I think it was 1991 was when they first ran around Barcelona, so they basically just finished building it at that point. So the main straight is basically the same, and turn one is basically the same. I have to say that's a really nice, big, obvious, in-your-face distance marker, and that's how they should be. Nothing more annoying than going along going, what's that marker say? And then realising you've left it too late because you've mistaken 300 for 200 or 200 for 100 or something, and ended up missing your marker. Which is why you shouldn't rely on these things in the first place, and you should look for something else, but whatever. I will say, I don't know why, it just looks a bit stark and bare, but whatever. The biggest difference really is the fact that there's a lot more dirt and gravel runoff, and the curbs are much simpler with just the stock width of curb, and what you will find is there's no extra bits on the inside, there's no huge loads of tarmac everywhere, so you do have to be a little bit more precise with your driving, because you can't get away with shit otherwise. I mean, all of that around there is tarmac now, isn't it? So Whereas in the good old days it used to be, oh, it's a gravel trap or dirt, so you get stuck in it. No exit curb out of here at all, if I remember rightly. It's just straight onto the dirt. There you go. Have a wheel full of dirt, which is how it should be. You don't need all these extra runoffs. Good old-fashioned piece of dirt never killed anybody in there. It's probably not true, but whatever. A bit of a gravel trap there. And I think actually even on the current layout that's still a sort of dirt and gravel trap, isn't it? So that one's not changed that much. Bit of a dodgy texture there. It went past so quickly I barely noticed it. I think it was a case of a bit of Z fighting between a couple of textures. Going down here, a lot less curbing to play with. If I remember rightly, now there's an outside curb you can use, whereas there's not here. But yeah, it just looks a bit stark compared with the modern circuit. Again, just an inside curb, simple one, no runoff outside curb at all. So behave or you'll be in the dirt. That is an interesting piece of art. I'm assuming that's why it's there. It's just a piece of art. I don't know if it has any specific meaning or whatever. Who knows? But of course, not having all these extra curbs does mean you've got to work out alternate braking points, because you could use the sort of start the curb on the outside here to decide where to brake. But again, it's just the single width of curbing with no extra BS behind it, no runoff across the inside here, so drag a load of dirt and shit on the track if you go across that. Good old light track, it does that. The way it works, it picks up shit and it throws it all over the place in a physically correct manner, I might add. Now this is Campos, which is the corner I said has been it's different because it wasn't as acute. It went round a bit further, carries on round there and shoots off down there on the current circuit. There is still this extra vet which you can use. I think one of the national type layouts can use it. But you then get this very quick chicane, which I always seem to get wrong every time I've ever driven around a circuit with this particular chicane in it. I don't know why, I always bugger it up. It's just one of those, I get it wrong every time. Actually got a bit of an exit curb there, which is one of the few places where there is one. Then it's down to this sort of horseshoey type corner at the end here. Like I said, this is much further back on the current circuit, and also of course you got the old across there a bit, and the reason for that is because that wall was actually closer as well because of the addition of the chicane. So it's tighter on the way in, less tight in the exit, so you should be able to get the power down quite well. Again, there's no additional curbing on the inside, so you can't run across that. And again, no exit curb coming out of here as well, so you can't run the curb on the exit. You just have to try and avoid going in the dirt and the grass and the gravel. Oh yes, there is one. Sorry, my apologies. There is actually an exit curb on the exit of this corner. I could have sworn there wasn't. Brain. Ha! So it's not every corner that hasn't got an exit curb on it. Just a lot of them. Oh, it's the last corner that hasn't got an exit curb, I believe. So there's an exit curb here, so you can actually run this one, but I think the last corner hasn't actually got one. Same entrance. I think it might actually have a slightly more available entrance to get into the pits because it hasn't got the chicane there, so the pit entrance is a little less in and a bit more. Oh, I'll slow down there. So yes, no exit curb, so be careful, don't overdo it. Very nice looking, all nicely modelled as you would hope. I think that stand's slightly different as well, might be wrong. It's one of those I'd have to go around the newest and this version to go, oh yeah, that is different, isn't it? But it's definitely got a lot less sort of obvious greenery around it and things. I'm sure there's a few more trees around the current modern circuit, so. But that's a lap of that, and it's very nice. Now, if we hit the right button, return to pit box, and can I remember which button's the exit? That one. Different wheel, different buttons. Now, which one should we look at next? Interlagos 91, probably. Go down to Interlagos. I think that's the current layout. It's 93, that must be 91. I mean, they all look exactly the same. I think the difference is actually in how much it went up and down, as well as things like curbs. So we'll start with 91 and then we'll go to the 93 and we can have a look and see how much, if any, difference we can spot. Might be a lot, might be a little. I think they might. I thought they actually reworked turn 1 slightly as well, but I might be wrong. Let us drive around. Garages, different, I believe. Like I said, always hard to tell. They certainly don't want you breaking into the garages. Pit walls, I'm pretty sure, are much different. I'm sure it doesn't look like that anymore. Might be wrong. Big footbridge. Is that there now? Might be. Of course, you have to get down to that's one major difference, is where you end up coming out onto the circuit from the pit wall. On the modern circuit, you have to run all the way down and join up down the straight, which is probably a lot safer than where you were coming out there. Nothing like people rejoining it in the middle of a race and killing a load of other people in the process. A few more stands. Oh, sure there aren't any stands there now. We've got a nice long downhill straight that gives you a nice, should be an out-braking opportunity into the next corner, which is basically the same as it is on the modern circuit. Like I said, I think most of the differences in elevation changes. And they may have changed a few corners by adding some camber or removing some camber over the years. Again, the other thing you watch out for is the complete difference in curbs and runoff areas. Like, that's not all tarmac. It is now. You get a nice exit curb, although I have to say, I always thought it finished too late or too early there. Could do with going a bit later. It's a bit of a lumpy edge on that curb. Don't want to be trying to run that too hard. Did I see something flashing in and out of existence there a second ago? Bit of a lod pop. Might have been my imagination. Again, this is going to be a case of through here, probably less inside curb, less runoff on the outside. Is it more uphill than it was? I'm sure that is steeper. There's no, I think the modern circuit has not as much of a hump there, so that might be one of the major changes. My recording might be causing a bit of stuttering here. These two corners are much of a muchness as they are now, except for the probably a bit more runoff and a bit more curb, or a different curb. Interlagos is one of those circuits that seems to have been unchanged forever, although it obviously has had changes. It's one of the perennials, if you like, that certainly not enough massive changes that you should be going, oh my god, I don't know where I'm going, put it that way. So and I think there's something else there now. Because I don't remember sort of looking across there going, oh, I can see a bit more on the circuit over there. So yes. And the final corner, although it's probably not the final corner, I don't know if I actually number any of the other ones up the straight here. The start finish straight, it's not really straight, because effectively this, it's a full on acceleration zone, so is it actually a corner if it's a full acceleration zone? I don't know. If you don't have to lift off, is it a corner? But then, depending upon what you're driving, in some things it might be a corner, in other things it might not. I'll have a philosophical argument with myself whilst I drive around. But yeah, these curbs are definitely a bit pushy. Don't think there's a lot of curbing on the outside, so probably want to be a bit careful. Is that actually outside the circuit, that bloody great tower, and us people just climbing up it to try and have a look in? I don't know if the pit entrance is slightly different. A little bit of a wiggle before you get to the rather steep bit. Again, it's the faster the entrance to the pit, the more likely you are to actually cross the line too damn fast and disqualify yourself. I'm looking at you, ACC. Right, let's see if we can see any differences in turn 1 or 1 and 2. Is it just turn 1? Turn 1 and 2. Little bit less in the way of runoff, although you can actually just go around what was the original circuit there. There's that's your safety margin, presumably. Somewhat different curbing to what it is now. Yeah, it's not a lot different. Now, let's have a look, see if we can work out what the difference is between 91 and 93. So yes, it looks very nice. I think they said there were some differences in curve and all that. It might have been Montreal, so can we find 93? That's 91, 93. Like I said, I think the main difference is they flattened out between 6 and 7. Other than that, it shouldn't look too much different. Let's see if I can spot the differences. Seen a lot so far. Slightly different painting on the curbs. Curbs are now, instead of going up and then across, they're now going that way, so they're flattened out by the looks of it. Which means you don't get kicked off so easily, which is nice. That all looks much the same apart from the curbs. Downhill. Be interesting to see if they've put any actual extra buildings in the city. Like, they must have been building for 2 years between 91 and 93. They must have put some more buildings up, surely. A few more high rises. Yeah, that curb's very strange the way, even on the current modern circuit, it always looks like that curb just runs out too far or too soon, so you don't get enough exit curve. That one's much the same. You think it needs to be further up. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. Right, I think this is where the difference is. I thought we'd flatten this lot out of it. Or am I mistaken? I don't know. Am I mistaken? Does that look flatter? I'm sure that's flatter. I would literally have to try and synchronise them side by side and go, that flare, even though it's only about 3 minutes ago that I looked at the previous one, my brain's gone. No, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to have to back to back them and go, oh yeah. Other than the curbs looking different, I can't see massive differences. Again, I'm sure there's more banking or something there on the modern circuit. Again, it might just be one of those, I just never noticed it before jobs that you get. But yeah, I mean, both the 91 and 93 versions look very nice, nicely modelled, lots and lots of detail in the cityscape beyond. Now I'm thinking, is that actual skeleton thing ahead of us, is that actually the skeleton of a building that they were building or something? I don't know. A block of flats. It's slightly strange if it's been like that for 2 years. Have the trees grown at all? Not sure. I'd have to check that as well. You'd hope they've grown up a little bit. Pit lane looks much the same. Don't think there was too many changes between them. I would have to look it up. But yeah, really nicely modelled again. A few spectators watching us go around. Hello. And again, I'm assuming there's no sort of nothing to stop you going shooting off onto the old circuit. Did it have the Shell logo on the previous version? So, yeah. I'd say very nice. I will press the right button eventually. Like I said in the blurb, not a lot of difference between the modern version and the current version in terms of these circuits, but enough to be different that you would have to be going, oh, I can't do that on that circuit where I can on the modern circuit because there's a runoff curb somewhere or an extra bit of curb somewhere, or there's some runoff tarmac that you can get away with shit that you can't necessarily do. That's the modern one, that's 91, that's 88. I think the 91's got the sharper chicane. I think that was the main difference between 88 and 91, and then change the back straight, and straighten it out after 91 sometime, not sure when. So we'll select it, and we'll, if I can get my brain in gear and press the right buttons, we'll actually start the darn thing up. So I must remember there's a chicane down the back straight and a chicane before we get to the start finish straight. So it's a sort of halfway house between the 88 version and the modern version in that it's got the tighter final chicane, but hasn't got the longer, straighter straight. Not sure where we come out of the pit lane, whether it's before the first turn. I think it is, isn't it? Why am I asking you? You can't bloody reply to me. Apart from in the comments later, obviously, but pit complex should be the same as 88, I believe, and oh yeah, let's just feed in right where people are in the braking zone at the first turn. You can see why they moved there. Bit of a suicide job to get round here on the first one. I think the curbs will be quite lumpy. I think 88 had those horrible little square curbs, whereas these are a bit more flattened out. Not that I've actually driven around the 88 circuit for several months, but I seem to recall it had those little typical of the era horrible short high curbs, whereas these are more sensible big serrations that break your suspension instead. Although this curb does look like it's still, oh my god, that hurts a bit on the lumpy side. I don't know if there's more or less trees now. I think it's probably less, aren't there? There isn't a lot more runoff on the modern version than there is on this, for the very simple reason there ain't anywhere to go with it. So hang on a second, I think somebody's shouting at me. Okay. Right, where was I? Mother asking what was for dessert. Nothing at the moment unless you whip something up, so she's going to whip something up. Namely a whip. Angel Delight. Quick and easy. Unlike me, who's slow and complicated. Whatever. Where was I? Oh yes, this is sort of the intermediate back straight, if you like. Is that bloody bridge still there? Because I'm just thinking, I don't remember seeing that before. It's like, presumably goes across the St Lawrence Seaway. That is the St Lawrence, isn't it? Yeah. This is one of those tricky corners. It's always forget how bloody tight that right-hander is. And then you come round here, it's quite open on the exit, no run-off curbs. Again, like a lot of these older circuits, the amount of curbing on modern circuits on exits and entrances, just make the fucking track wider if you're going to do that. You might as well. I just can't see the point. Other than the fact, yes, okay, if you stick a wheel on the grass, you're more likely to spin. But at the end of the day, you stick a wheel over the back edge of a curb, you could also spin. So it's a bit weird, really. But it's like everything. You give a racing driver an extra piece of tarmac, they'll use it, and a bit more. So whatever. Right. I'm sure the modern circuit has slightly more space to go around the outside there. This is where the the older circuit is slightly different. I didn't realise they had a second grid down here. They didn't have a second version layout, did they? No. So, or is this where the start finish grid was? Then I'm thinking out loud here. Now this can be a quite tricky little corner. I think on the 88 version that inside curve is lethal. On this it's probably a little less so, because you can actually use it a bit. Obviously at 180 miles an hour that's a little bit more than it is on whatever speed we're currently doing, which is probably in the region of 40 to 50 miles an hour. Then the final chicane, as opposed to the 88 version, which is very, very fast. This is where they tightened it up and made it into this much tighter version. No runoff, so if you stick a wheel on there you're probably going to spin yourself, but the Water Champions is still there and it's still available for you to park in anytime you feel like it. He looks bored. Bored? I'm bored. And there's his twin. He looks equally bored. So yes, I don't know why there's two starting grids. I presume there was a good reason for having two starting grids, but as you run it the first corner, again it's you should be able to just about get straightened up before you need to hit the brakes in a car that's got good brakes. In a car with less good brakes you might have to start braking before you get to that, so it's probably a good idea to get to the left and open it out before you get to it. But yes, 4 nice additional circuits. Are they different enough to warrant you paying money for them? Well, apparently they're part of the deal anyway, so if you've already paid your money for whichever thing they're included in, or are they separate? I can't remember now. They might be completely separate, but 4 nice additions, and yes, we'll call that a day on this particular one, and I'll test the cars in another video, I think. Otherwise we'll be here all night. And I've got to go and make some tea at some point, so something simple and quick. So that's a first look at the circuits. Like I said, we'll have a look at the cars next, but that'll be for another video. So from me, for now, enjoy racing, have fun, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Where's my button?